everyone, welcome back to my channel. I do have a pleasing sweatshirt on today for all of my hairy fans out there, but I didn't buy it. My friend actually made it for me, and it's super cute and it's super soft. But aside from that, for today's video I wanted to do a little bit of a every book I read this year wrap up. I've never been a super big book reader, I guess. I'm a book fan, but I'm not really a reader. And over 2020 and 2021 I kind of really got back into reading and started to really enjoy it and doing it for leisure again. And the big goal that I had at the beginning of 2020 or 2021, it's crazy that it's literally almost 2022, was to read 5 books, and I can say that I successfully completed that resolution, which is very exciting. And I just wanted to share with you guys some of the books that I read, because I feel like I always do movie wrap-ups and TV show wrap-ups, but I never do book wrap-ups. So that's what I wanted to do for you all today. I have my journal that I kept track of things in. I have a bullet journal, and so I had a page with books that I read this year, and I had the time period and what I rated them and things. So I'm just going to be using that for reference because it's hard to remember everything. I'm grabbing the books off the shelf as I go. So the book that I started this year off with in January is a book called Turtles on the Way Down by John Green. John Green is my favorite author. I did see him at the Taylor Swift concert in 2018. I'll post a picture here. This was at the time when I was taking AP US History and he was doing crash course videos. So this man was saving my life, okay? But I love John Green books. I think they're so good. Paper Towns is one of my favorite books of all time. And I got this book for Christmas. I want to say, I think in 2019 I got it for Christmas, and I had just never read it. My mom got me an autographed copy, which was very cool. Thanks, Mom. But this book took me forever to get into. I didn't finish it until May of 2021, but once I got into it, I flew through it. It was so good. I rated this a 7 out of 10, but obviously it's a book that kind of centers around young adults, and the way that this book's a little different from other John Green books, as it kind of has a mystery element to it, which I really like. But I recommend it. I think it's one of the top John Green books that I've read other than Paper Towns. And yeah. Are you doing a book video? What? Are you doing a book video? Yeah. Aww. Hi! She's doing a book video! She's crying! My sister is so funny. She's brought this book in for me. This is a book she, what's it called? Tabbing? She tabbed it. It's beautiful. But she let me borrow this back in May. So this is a book that I read right after Turtles All the Way Down. And this is actually the fastest book that I've ever read in my life. I'm not a quick reader, as you can tell. But this is 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. And I read this in, I want to say a day. I'm pretty sure it was a day. I think I started it right when I got home from school. I had just gotten off, summer break had just started, and I think I read it starting in the morning, and I just flew through it. This book made me sob. I will have video evidence playing here. Oh, this is the saddest book. It just keeps getting worse. Oh my god. No, this is so terrible. This is a whirlwind of a book, and a book really has to be good and really has to hook me for me to read it in one sitting. I don't have that kind of attention span for books, and the fact that I read this in a day is saying something, and that's what I always tell people. I'm I promise it's good. My favorite trope in media in general, TV shows, songs, books, plays, whatever it may be, is friends to lovers, specifically childhood friends to lovers. This was everything to me. I remember reading it and being this reminds me of a lot of songs that I know, and at the end there's a playlist of songs, and that made me cry even more. The epilogue of this book is it's a treacherous journey, okay? I'm telling you, you have to read it. It's so good. A lot of the books that I read this year were definitely book talk books, because I would see them everywhere. And I would see so many TikToks of people live reading this, and they were sobbing. A 10 out of 10. Phenomenal piece of literature. So I'm really into self-help books. I really like them. And I had this book. I ended up getting it for Christmas in 2020 from my aunt, and I read it in the spring of 2021. Usually when I'm reading self-help books, I kind of read them at the same time as the fiction books I'm reading. So this was likely read during Turtles All the Way Down and the time I was reading 1,000 Boy Kisses. But it's called You're Made for a God-Sized Dream by Holly Girth. This book just has like a bunch of prompts and annotating things and such, and it like really kind of just makes you question like existence and what your purpose is and what your dreams are, and I really enjoy books like that. If you are into self-help books and you're religious, I think this is a great option for you. I rated this book an 8 out of 10. The next book I read is An Abundance of Catherines by John Green. So as like I said, John Green is my favorite author, and this has been on my list to read since like the beginning of time. Basically, I always saw it in like middle school and high school, and I wanted to read it so bad, but I just never got around to it. But I read it, and it was not my favorite, I have to say, unfortunately. I read this in May of 2021, and it was just not... I think I had high expectations because it was John Green, and that's what really made me not enjoy it as much. It wasn't a bad book. Obviously, I finished it, so it wasn't bad. But I did rate it a 5 out of 10. These next two, I actually don't have on me because I borrowed them from the library. But over the summer, I was taking an acting course on the weekends when I wasn't working, and I got recommended to start reading plays by my acting coach. So I started reading Suburbia, and I was doing scenes in the class from the play. And I read Suburbia like 4 times through, I want to say, over the course of the acting weeks that I was doing, and I rated this play a 7 out of 10. I love reading plays, and I kind of forgot how much I missed like reading over a script. It kind of took me back to like my high school theater times, but I've never fully read a play through unless it was in high school in a class, so that was super cool. I really like Suburbia. I think it's a very interesting kind of take on the world, and I like how like simple the setting is. After I finished Suburbia, I also read a play called The Glass Menagerie, which is really popular in high school English classes. People that I knew read this play in class. I didn't, so I had never really read it or knew about it, but I also read this one for my acting class. This is a play by Tennessee Williams, and it's considered kind of a classic, I would say. It's pretty beloved and, like I said, taught to a lot of students. This was not my favorite. I rated it a 6 out of 10. I didn't hate it, and I think it has very good value and scenes to perform, but it just wasn't like something that would spark my interest normally, if that makes sense. Okay, this next book is definitely my favorite book of the year. I have so much love for this book. I owe it to Book Talk. I bought this book at Barnes & Noble solely to read it, and I'm obsessed with this. I'm obsessed with it, okay? This is likely one of my favorite books of all time, which is saying a lot. And I rated this one a 10 out of 10 because I love it so much. It's called The People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. No, I have not read Beach Read. Yes, I will probably read it over the summer. I just have not yet. The book has no flaws. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. This is fantastic. This is probably my second quickest read ever. I think I read this within like 3 days. There was a couple days where I was house sitting in late July, or I guess early August. It was like early August, late July, and I would literally sit by the pool. I know, tough life. And just read this book, and it made me smile. It made me blush. It's so good. It's so good. Next is a book that I also don't have on me, but it's one that I read September through November of 2021, so you can see I was kind of on a like book dry period, probably because of school for a couple of months. It is The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. So I had heard that this book is really good, and I knew that they were going to make a series out of it, so I wanted to read it before that happened. I also really just adore Jenny Han's writing. She's probably my second favorite author. I love the To All the Boys movies, but I love the books even more. The books are so good. So I was like, okay, I'll read The Summer I Turned Pretty, not knowing it was a series. But I read the first book, and I rated it a 9 out of 10. Right when I finished The Summer I Turned Pretty, I decided that I wanted to read a wintry book. so I picked up The 12 Dates of Christmas at Target, and I just finished this one on Christmas Eve on the plane ride home from New York City. This book took me forever to get into. I started it the beginning of December, and like I said, I just finished it on Christmas Eve. It's very slow at some points, but it's also like really hooking at others, which makes it hard because I want to like sit there and read it all day at some points, and some points I just want to like read 5 pages, if that. I rated this a 7 out of 10. Now, when I picked this book up, I thought that it was like the book to the movie The 12 Dates of Christmas with Mark Paul Gosselaar. I think it's a Hallmark movie or like a Lifetime movie or something. So I was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know that was a book. Let me read it. And this book also has the same name for the main character, which is very deceiving because I thought it was like based off the movie, or the movie was based off this book. But they are not the same thing. Don't let that deceive you. Basically, it's kind of another friends to lovers story. Why is every book that I've read this year is like at its core friends to lovers? And I'm not going to spoil it for you, even though I pretty much knew what was going to happen from like the first chapter. But she just goes on like a journey of love, and it's good. I wouldn't put this in the category of young adult because it's very much like revolving around like adult lives. Like she's like in her 30s, I think, and she has a very like solid, stable job. But it's still good, and I highly recommend. I rated it a 7 out of 10. So yes, these are all the books I read this year. I read 7 books and 2 plays, so I exceeded my resolution. But yeah, I hope to read even more in 2022, and thank you guys so much for watching, and drop some book recommendations in the comments. Thank you. Bye.